When you think of New York City, you imagine the skyscrapers, the bright lights of Broadway, and the constant energy of a city that never sleeps. But here's a fact that might surprise you. A different language is spoken almost every few blocks. New York City is the most linguistically diverse city in the world, home to an estimated 800 languages, from widely spoken dialects to those nearing extinction. Nearly half the population speaks a language other than English at home. This truly reflects the melting pot identity the city has built over 4 centuries. This is not just a city of stone and steel, it's a complex, ambitious tapestry of humanity. Welcome to the Big Apple. This is the story of how a small trading post at the mouth of the Hudson River grew into the cultural and financial capital of the modern world. The story of New York begins long before European ships arrived. The land was the ancient home of the Lenape Native Americans, who called the island Manhattan, meaning hilly island or place where one gathers wood for bows. This indigenous presence laid the groundwork for the paths and waterways that would later become the city's streets, including what we now know as Broadway. European history began in 1609 when the English explorer Henry Hudson, sailing for the Dutch, navigated the river that now bears his name. The Dutch quickly recognized the strategic value of the large harbor. In 1624, Dutch colonists set up a trading post on the southern tip of Manhattan Island, centered around Fort Amsterdam. 2 years later, in 1626, the settlement was officially named New Amsterdam, becoming the capital of the Dutch colony of New Netherland. The Dutch West India Company is credited with facilitating the famous transaction for the island from the local Native Americans for 60 guilders worth of goods, roughly $1,000 today. The settlement prospered as a center for the fur trade, attracting a small but diverse population even in those early days. However, the Dutch control of this prime location was short-lived. In 1664, amid rising conflicts, the English took control of New Amsterdam without firing a shot. The English renamed the entire colony, including the growing city, New York, in honor of the Duke of York, the brother of King Charles II, who would later become King James II of England. This era set the stage for the city's role in the American fight for independence. As a major seaport and commercial hub, New York became a hotbed for revolutionary activity. Groups like the Sons of Liberty campaigned against British authority. Its strategic location made it a prime target for British forces in 1776, and for most of the Revolutionary War, the British Army occupied the city, using it as their main base. The city also witnessed General George Washington's first military victory at the Battle of Harlem Heights. After the British withdrawal in 1783, New York City was ready for national prominence. From 1785 to 1790, it served as the first national capital of the newly independent United States. It was here at Federal Hall on Wall Street that George Washington was inaugurated as the nation's first president, and the United States Bill of Rights was drafted and ratified. The city's history was now linked to the history of the nation, but its greatest growth was yet to come. The 19th century drove New York's explosive transformation. The opening of the Erie Canal in 1825 connected the city to the Great Lakes and the American interior, instantly strengthening New York's position as the top port on the Atlantic and driving its commercial success over all other American cities. By the mid-1800s, New York's ports handled more goods and people than all other U.S. ports combined. This economic boom created a huge demand for labor, starting one of the greatest migrations in history. Beginning in the mid-19th century and speeding up into the early 20th century, waves of immigrants, first from Ireland and Germany, then from Italy and Eastern Europe and beyond, arrived in the city. These newcomers passed through Castle Clinton, and after 1892, through the large immigration processing center on Ellis Island in New York Harbor. New York became the first stop for millions seeking a new and better life in the United States, truly a gateway to America. In 1886, this role as the nation's welcoming beacon was solidified with the dedication of the Statue of Liberty. This huge neoclassical sculpture, a gift from France to celebrate the centennial of the United States, arrived in the harbor in 350 separate pieces inside 214 crates, taking 4 months to assemble. Lady Liberty, formerly titled Liberty Enlightening the World, stood as the first sight of America for over 14 million immigrants arriving by ship, symbolizing American ideals of freedom and peace. Along with the influx of people came a revolution in infrastructure and architecture. The 1870s saw the start of construction on the Brooklyn Bridge, an engineering marvel that would link Manhattan to the then independent city of Brooklyn. This expansion, along with steel-framed construction techniques, marked the age of the skyscraper. The city's next pivotal moment came in 1898 with the merger of the 5 boroughs: Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island. This consolidation created the modern city of New York, providing the scale, infrastructure, and unified management needed to become a true global city. The ultimate expression of New York's industrial strength and architectural ambition emerged in the 1920s and 30s during the skyscraper race. This competitive time peaked with the construction of the Empire State Building. Completed in 1931, the Empire State Building was not just the tallest building in the world at that time, but also a symbol of hope during the Great Depression. It represented the city's relentless ambition, so grand that the building had its own zip code, highlighting its monumental scale and its significance in the city's life. Beyond the grand monuments and historical narratives, New York City has a wealth of unexpected facts and quirky trivia that reveal its unique character. Take Central Park, the 843-acre green space in the heart of Manhattan. It's a masterpiece of landscape design created by Frederick Olmsted and Calvert Vaux. It was the first major landscaped public park in the United States. You might assume such a lush area is natural, but every rock, hill, and body of water you see was completely man-made. To create this urban oasis, nearly 5 million cubic yards of stone, earth, and topsoil were moved. Before the park was built, the land housed about 1,600 residents who were displaced, including the community of Seneca Village, primarily an African-American settlement.
The park's vast area is best illustrated by one surprising fact. Central Park is larger than the world's second smallest country, the Principality of Monaco. It is also the most filmed location in the world. Then there is Times Square, the vibrant heart of Midtown. Originally called Loncourt Square, it was renamed in 1904 when the New York Times moved its headquarters there. The Times Tower, once the home of the newspaper, still stands and is the site of the famous New Year's Eve ball drop. Beneath the streets lies one of the most extensive public transit networks in the world, the New York City Subway. When its first line opened in 1904, it had just 28 stations. Today, the system includes 472 active stations, carrying millions of riders daily. For those who enjoy hidden history, the original City Hall station is now a beautifully preserved ghost station, featuring vaulted ceilings and ornate chandeliers, an architectural gem you can glimpse on a few train routes. If you laid all the subway's main tracks end to end, the over 660 miles would stretch from New York City to Chicago. The city's uniqueness even extends to its local culture. For many years, a theory called the pizza principle suggested that the price of a single slice of plain pizza closely matched the price of a subway ride. In an unusual ecological twist, a study from the 1980s famously stated that you are statistically more likely to be bitten by another New Yorker than by a shark. To truly understand New York is to appreciate its culture, a culture formed through collision and cohabitation. The city is the ultimate melting pot, a lively and often intense ecosystem where a continuous flow of immigrants has built a strong, distinct identity. New York's cultural life is defined by its 5 distinctive boroughs: Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island. Each is a world of its own. Manhattan is the financial and theatrical center. Queens is a large residential area known for its incredible ethnic diversity. Brooklyn has its own vibrant, trend-setting art and music scenes. The Bronx is the birthplace of hip-hop. And Staten Island offers a quieter, more residential environment. If Brooklyn and Queens were cities, they would each rank among the 4 largest in the United States. This diversity comes to life in its traditions and festivals. The city is famous for its massive street parades, many of which celebrate various ethnic backgrounds. New Yorkers of all backgrounds gather for the elaborate Puerto Rican Day Parade, the large West Indian Labor Day Parade, and the historic St. Patrick's Day Parade, one of the top Irish heritage parades in the Americas. Additionally, you will find celebrations for Diwali, Hanukkah, and the Chinese New Year with equal enthusiasm. In the performing arts, New York is unmatched. It is the global center of musical theater, widely known by the name of its main avenue, Broadway. The bright marquees of the Great White Way host the world's most celebrated plays and musicals, a tradition that has thrived since the late 19th century. However, New York's theater scene is also rich at its roots, with off-Broadway and off-Broadway venues constantly developing experimental theater and nurturing the next generation of playwrights and actors. New York is the birthplace of many cultural movements. In the early 20th century, the Harlem Renaissance sparked a growth in African American literature, art, and music, including the rise of jazz, which found legendary spots like the Apollo Theater in Harlem. Later, the city became the incubator for abstract expressionism, often referred to as the New York School, and the home of groundbreaking music styles, including punk rock, salsa, and most famously, hip-hop, which began in the Bronx. From its exceptional museums, like the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the Museum of Modern Art, to the small, gritty comedy clubs where stand-up comedy was refined, New York's continuous creative energy ensures it remains the nation's most important center for media, publishing, art, and creative industries. Today, New York City is home to over 8.3 million people, making it the most populous city in the United States and the heart of the largest, most economically powerful metropolitan area in the world. Its influence reaches far beyond its 5 boroughs, shaping global finance, diplomacy, and culture. The city's economic engine is centered around Wall Street in Lower Manhattan, the iconic home of the American financial industry. New York is often seen as the world's top financial and fintech hub, with the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, the 2 largest stock exchanges in the world by market value. The finance and security sector in the city generates a significant amount of wealth, providing around 5% of the city's private sector jobs and contributing important tax revenue for both the city and the state. However, the modern New York economy is becoming more diverse. Aside from finance, the city is a leader in high technology, known as Silicon Alley, which continues to grow and broaden the city's economic base. It also excels in advertising, known as Madison Avenue, and is a hub for healthcare, life sciences, and real estate. The New York metropolitan area has a massive economic output, generating an annual gross metropolitan product that surpasses the GDP of all but 9 countries worldwide. The skyline showcases this economic vitality. After the tragedy of September 11, 2001, New York showed its resilience by rebuilding. The One World Trade Center, along with other skyscrapers in the area, stands as a strong symbol of the city's enduring strength. In the meantime, a new wave of tall buildings and innovative designs has transformed the Midtown skyline, reinforcing the city's reputation as the largest central business district in the world. As a center of global politics, New York's influence stands unmatched. Since 1952, it has served as the permanent headquarters of the United Nations, strengthening its role as a hub for international diplomacy and world affairs. Today, the city attracts millions of tourists each year who come to experience its unique energy, landmarks, and culture. This vibrant spirit, with the constant flow of people and a continuous cycle of change, is what gives the city its pulse. The story of New York City is one of ambition. It started as a small Dutch trading post, evolved through English dominance, formed its identity during a revolution, and then rebuilt itself through steel and immigration. New York is a place of striking contrasts, a city of billionaires and dreamers, grand architecture and modest neighborhood stoops, peaceful parks and lively energy. It holds layers of history, with remnants from the colonial era to old subway stations, always present beneath the surface. It is a crossroads of the modern world, a financial powerhouse, a cultural center, and the most linguistically diverse city on the planet. Its legacy lies not only in its landmarks, but in its role as a gateway where the world comes together. The energy is contagious, opportunities are limitless, and the pace is relentless. It is a city that demands your attention, ambition, and best effort. For centuries, New York City has been the destination for people hoping to change their lives, only to discover that the city changes them. It is known as the city that never sleeps because its dreams are too large to be contained. This is the true and lasting story of the Big Apple.